What's up guys, Josh with Pioneer. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to fit and adjust your bindings to your snowboard. Whether you're just pulling your snowboard out for the new season or you have a whole new setup like we have here today, I'm going to be showing you guys the best way to strap it on so when you get out to the resort, you guys are set up for success. So let's get into it. So today I have some Burton stilettos that we're going to be fitting. The first thing that we're going to want to do is get the boot actually in the bindings. The reason why we're doing this before we actually put it onto the snowboard is that there's going to be adjustments on the base of the bindings that we're going to need to change possibly. We won't be able to do that if it's already strapped down to the board itself. So the next thing we're going to be doing is putting the straps on. And you're going to want to do this with your boot. Try to lace it up a little bit to get that realism of your foot actually being in there. Later when we actually get it all the way on, we will be putting our actual foot in there to do like the final checks on it. So you want to get your nose cap on your front strap nice and tight. And so the things that we're looking at here is we're wanting a nice and even displacement of the straps. We don't want too much on one side or too much on the other. If you need to, there's these screws here that we can loosen. And that's going to take the strap up and down, allowing for more length here. Also, under this cap, we can unscrew this and it's going to let the tongue of the strap here out to be able to be adjusted. On the nose cap, same thing. We're adjusting here. This just rotates free on its own, and if you need to make it tighter or smaller, there's the screw here. And again, we're just looking for even displacement over the toe. Flipping it upside down, we're looking at the base here. So what we want with the base is as little of toe of your boot actually hanging over the base of your bindings as possible. This is going to allow when you actually push into your snowboard for a toe edge or a heel edge, you're going to get a lot more feel and response from the snowboard versus if this was choked all the way back. So the way that we're going to do that, if you do need to adjust it, is with the stilettos. We have this all foam base here, and in the back there's two little tabs that we're going to pull out. They're just going to snap off. They look just like that. This is going to reveal your base plate, and it's also going to allow you to adjust the toe and the base of your actual bindings. These just snap, they just pull off and move up and down as so. You can do this with the boot on. You're going to pull it out, and then you want just a couple inches of toe actually hanging over your bindings. Once you get that adjusted, it's simple as just pushing these back down, and that's going to be locked in. The nice thing about these stilettos is that the base is actually the Burton reflex puts the foam straight onto the base, which allows for a lot more response from the bindings into the board. So when you're going into a turn, it's actually not just pushing plastic onto plastic, it's pushing almost the foam onto the plastic, which is allowing it to really mesh with the board a lot better. Alright, so we have the bindings adjusted. I've already done it to both set of bindings. The last thing that we're going to want to do is look at the high backs of our bindings, and this we'll get a little bit more into when we actually get it strapped to the board, is actually adjusting the lean, the forward lean on your back bindings. A lot of people ride zeros or no forward lean at all. You're going from a toe edge back to a heel edge. This forward lean on your high back is going to push and close the gap between your boot and the high back foam here. The more you run, the more it's going to put that pressure onto the back heel, and it's going to force you more into an athletic stance. So we can adjust that. Here I have a forward lean of 2. You know, if you've never done forward lean before, I would suggest, you know, put it on 1 or 2, see how you like it, do a couple runs on it, and maybe adjust a little bit more or take it down as needed. All right, so now we're going to start looking at actually putting the bindings on the board. What you're going to need for this is you're going to need a board, your bindings, these screws, and then your base plate. I'm going to be using the 4x4 bindings. So a lot of people ask, you know, what should my distance be? What should my angle of my bindings be? And you know, that's all adjusted just as a rider, getting some experience and testing it out for yourself. Today I'm going to be going over kind of the standard, and if this is your first time putting a board together, try it out, and you know, you can adjust it on the ski slope if you need to. But to find the stance, first we're going to figure out what foot we actually ride on. The easiest way to do this, to figure out whether you're goofy footed, which means you ride with your right foot forward, or you're regular, which means you ride with your left foot forward. The easiest way to do this is stand, close your eyes, and have your friend push you from behind, and usually your instinctive foot to catch you is the one that you're going to prefer to lean on. Today we're going to be adjusting onto this board for a goofy rider, and once we have established now the foot that we're riding forward on, now we're going to get the stance. The easiest way that I do this is I have someone stand in an athletic posture, not too wide, about shoulder width. And what I'm going to do is take the tape measure, and I'm actually going to run it from the center of the foot to the center of the foot. This is usually for someone between, you know, 5'5" and 6 foot. Your stance is going to be somewhere around 19 to 22 inches. And based off of that, you can adjust accordingly. If you're going to be going more into the park, you're going to want more of a center balance on your board. And if you're riding, let's say, into deeper powder and stuff like that, it's not uncommon to actually adjust the bindings back a little bit to expose a little bit more of the front of your snowboard. Today we're going to be setting it up at a 19 to 20 inch stance, and the angle of the bindings, a nice standard to base off of, and again you can adjust this if you need to, is a 16 forward and a 6 rear. So that's a positive 16 and a negative 16, depending on how you're looking at it. So with the stilettos, over in there, and I'll try to point it out, but over in the left corner of the bindings is actually your arrow, and that's where you're going to be adjusting your angle, and these are going by about every 9, it seems, is marked on here. So we're going to put that just under 18, going for a 16, and then we're going to press that in. Then, as you can see, your bindings actually on the board, or your 4x4s, we're going to lay this on, and we're getting the center to 22. So if we measure this, I'm sorry, we're going to go with 20 to 21. And the base plates of these are going to allow for you to really, you can kind of adjust it anywhere that you need to on the board to get the holes to line up. So we're going to do that. and make sure you're grabbing the screws that come with for your 4x4. They're a little bit different. And I'm going to take this screwdriver and I'm just going to go around to each one just enough to get it tight. We're not going like So now we have each of these just past basically finger tight, and what I'm going to do is go into a star pattern to actually tighten these down. Alright, so now that that's tightened down, we're going to take the actual base foam here of the stiletto. Pop that back in. And then we're going to do the same thing to your rear boot or your rear binding. And if you ever wonder actually, which binding is which, you can see that most of these have a curve in them, just like the natural curve of your foot. And if there's any other question, usually it's also marked on the inside of the strap or even on the bottom side of the binding there. Alright, so again, we're going to lift up the foam pad of the base here. So reveal the base plate. And again, we're putting the rear to a 6. Which I believe it's set on right now. So you can see the 9 and the arrow is actually pointed just before that. And these are moving in these little teeth are moving in increments of 3. So I have it on the notch just before the 9. And another thing, when we're putting these on, we're trying to make sure that these aren't moving too far over the base of the board. What we don't want is to have a large overhang, because that's going to make, you got to think, if you have an inch coming off your boot onto your overhang, that's going to, that could significantly put your foot outside of the range that you would like to be for your board. So that's what we play with the base plate here, and we can adjust these to actually fit for the proper stance here. Alright, and then we'll take these screws. I'm going to screw these in, and then I'll be back with you guys in a sec. Alright, so we just finished putting on the left binding, and the last thing that we really have to do for adjusting the bindings is adjusting the high backs. And I think this is something that a lot of people miss when they're putting on bindings, especially if you're getting brand new bindings, is adjusting these high backs. If you notice on the sides of the bindings itself, there's a little screw with teeth on it. This is on both sides. What this is allowing the adjustment of the cup of your high back. Now, why do we want to do this? You want to adjust this with your stance, the angle of your bindings. It's going to allow for your high back to sit comfortably on your heel. Not adjusting this could start to cause calf pain and then kind of put some pain into your legs with your stance. So what we want to do when we're adjusting this, and a good rule of thumb to start with, is just lining up the back of the high backs with the edge of your board. So if you're looking down at it, what you want is this nice line to go on your high back following your board. The way we're going to do that is we're just going to loosen each side. And that's going to allow for the cup of your high back to actually slide around. You can already see how some tension is taken off of it. So to get these properly lined up, see, so if I had this neutral, there would almost be an outward angle coming off the top of the board if I was looking down on it. We're almost coming out to the right side of the board here. So what I want to do is I'm going to push in one direction. I'm just going to kind of work these because it's two teeth going against each other. Push in one direction, and then I'm going to set that. And then we're going to pull this cup back in the other direction. That's going to give us the nice line. Alright, and I've already done it to the left binding. The last things that we're checking over is making sure that the base is actually pressed in here. Nothing's moving around. We've already adjusted our straps. We know that they fit the boots properly, that the base pad fits the boots properly, and we've adjusted. I put a F2 lean on these bindings. The last thing that you're going to want to do is just do a final. What I would always strap in, or put your boots on. At this point, I'd be pretty stoked to be testing out the board. And just strap this down, because if you're getting off the lid about to go out. And again, we're just looking for proper fit, making sure that this is pretty evenly distributed across both sides, and that's just going to keep pain from focusing onto the middle of your straps here, and then that your nose cup is properly fitted. Buckles are good. It's not feeding out. If you do have that problem again, you can adjust basically the tongue of this strap, and then we're looking at the high back and a proper fit underneath the board. And that's how you fit and put on your snowboard bindings. I'm Josh with Pioneer, and thanks for watching.